lots to talk about today because new Kamen Rider series premiered. It was really good. But first, of course, I have to talk about Nininnger. Now, this was actually a pretty decent episode, though I'm irritated again that they're praising Takaharu for being an idiot when the greater idea is actually attributable to Nagi, and considering, I don't know, maybe he's good with being inspired and is just really bad at talking to people. That's something I can understand, but it's his entire attitude that continually pisses me off, and I hate that I keep coming back to this, because I don't want to keep coming back to this, but, yeah, Takaharu, he's the one that figures out the new mecha, how to get the new mecha, and I have a problem with that, because, you know, Katsumi's there, and, you know, she's, after they failed again, she's working under Takaharu logic, and her working under Takaharu logic is terrible. Wow. Ow. Okay, all of the partner mecha have been defeated by Kyuemon because he's got this mecha that acts like the Cubily from Mobile Suit Gundam Zeta and onwards, even with its own fin funnel attacks. Yeah, that was a kind of a weird homage, but I'm a frickin' sucker for the Cubily, especially the Cubily Mark II. No, it's the basic Cubily. The basic Cubily was the purple one, the Cubily Mark II was the red one. Well, red with pink accents, but my Cubily in there is purple with red accents, because I repainted all the pink stuff purple, so it's like, a mixture of the two Purus, because, like, I kind of like that character from those series. That's kind of an odd tangent here. So they're defeated, they fall into a river, because Toshiki Inoue didn't write this. I just always ascribe that now to him, considering I just watched Fives, and it happens like every 3 episodes there. So yeah, they're about to be killed by Kyuemon, but Yoshitaka intervenes in, like, the first time he's actually done something tangible in the show. And it's like, it's him owning up to his mistakes in training Kyuemon after all the recent stuff that's been revealed about what happened to... I'm forgetting the guy's name again. He's barely in the show as it is, but... you know, Takaharu and Fuka's father. And it's like, it's like, Kyuemon's more doing this to make him own up for his sins and mistakes, cause, and pointing out everything that, Yoshitaka's done wrong, and, yeah, Yoshitaka's done a lot of things wrong, and hell, even something more in that he's not really trained them. But I kind of get the idea now from this episode what he was trying to do. He was trying to guide them on a path to becoming good ninja, but him not training them was because he didn't want them to become stuck on his methodology, find their own path, make their own mistakes. Just, he has to keep them from repeating his own. Which doesn't exactly make things better, as... well, he didn't ever really give them a starting point. He never really praised them for ingenuity and insightfulness and, you know, doing that kind of stuff that would encourage them to keep doing it. It's pretty much like, he was condemning them for being terrible ninja without really giving them a framework for why they were being terrible ninja. Granted, they're the shinobi that don't hide, and that's... yeah, in and of itself, a thing that showcases a terrible ninja. So, I guess he could have explained that from the beginning, and I would not have had a problem with it. Like, explain that I've made that would have been a really easy way to do it. I've made mistakes, I don't want you to repeat mine, and so don't try to follow me. Find your own path. Why would that have been so hard to explain to them? Hell, that would have been a good way for him trying to refuse Kinji in why he wouldn't take him on as a student. He didn't want anyone to... He admittedly did reveal that later, but long after Kinji had been around, and after he'd been leading him on this whole other thing for so long. It's like, you want your chance. I don't want to train students, but hey, maybe you'll show yourself as worthy by challenging my grandkids. It's like there's so much stuff that you could have fixed by actually fucking talking to them about it instead of denigrating them for so long, and like maybe giving them critiques on every now and then so they know, that makes their own mistakes not so gigantic. It's like, the problem with this show is that all of the character stuff, all of the main story stuff gets being shoved aside for the fight scene. And finally, we have an episode that's focused on the story instead of the fight scene, and it's all coming out that could have helped make the show better from the beginning. I'm not even kidding. This was actually a pretty decent episode aside from Takaharu's role in getting the mechs together, because Takaharu is a fucking imbecile. And, I wouldn't even mind him being an imbecile if his most prominent character trait is him being an imbecile. Stay on topic. Okay. They figure that with Kyoemon getting an immunity in his mech to the current partner Nins, and Shishio, the Lion Hollow Spirit, being unable to help due to the destruction of the Chozet's bracelet, I should call it the Chozet's Battleizer, because that's pretty much what it is. They figured that to counter Kyoemon's mech, they need new partner Nin mechs of their own make that Kyoemon wouldn't have been able to counter, considering how much Kyoemon already knows the tactics of Yoshitaka. Hell, in the fight that I started in on before I kind of skipped past it, sorry. It was like Kyoemon was countering almost everything Yoshitaka was doing in the battle, both due to Yoshitaka being older, so he wasn't as physical prime anymore, and because of his experience with his style, schooling, and teachings, while calling him out on that stuff. Making Shishio simply to be a pawn in his own schemes, denigration of his actual family legacy. Hell, apparently the only reason he trained Kyoemon originally was to inspire his son to improve better when he didn't see actual progress. I think that's kind of him being a terrible teacher kind of thing, but it's kind of anyways, back to the mechs. They get Tetsunosuke back in to help them with constructing new mechs and going past the policy on that, and apparently each of them were infused with a soul essence, and initially I'm thinking, since they say that Yoshitaka collaborated with Tetsunosuke on all of the previous partner, and hey, doesn't that bring up a plot hole with Bison Maru? Well, they actually fill that plot hole later in the episode by saying that whatever soul infusion that was needed to bring Bison Maru and Rodeo Maru online was part of the initial package that Kinji got when he bought the mech. I still don't know how he could have afforded it, but that is neither here nor there right now. But when they designed the mecha that are supposed to be intrinsic to them, based after the four cardinal direction beasts of the Phoenix, the Mutant Turtle Genbu, the Byakko Tiger. No, wait. Was the Byakko Tiger in there? I don't think the Byakko Tiger was in there. Okay, what was it? Phoenix was red. Dragon was blue. The tortoise thing was yellow. What was Katsumi's? Because Fuka's was a panda, and Kinji's was a shark. No, some type of fish. So was Katsumi's the Tiger? I don't actually remember. It's the first debut of the thing, so I guess I'm just blanking a bit on it. But yeah, the 4 cardinal direction beasts and a panda and a fish. And unfortunately, they can't energize them with soul energy for some unexplained reason. Maybe they're not strong enough individually to impart their spirit onto it. We just don't know. But this results in an off comment by Takaharu saying that they can't just follow everything Yoshitaka does, which seems really out of place considering he really doesn't do anything original. He's just a fighting machine. The one that does original things is Nagi, and it would have made more narrative sense to be for the revelation that actually gets them working to come from Nagi and Katsumi. Because what eventually gets the mecha working is the possession technique from the episode previously, the one where they had all of their spirits. Yeah, the one last episode. That was last episode, wasn't it? Where they had all their spirit specialties stolen. Nagi used it to possess a inanimate object, and I was thinking, couldn't you just use a transformation technique? And no, this was actually narrative foreshadowing, which I approve of. It still was out of place in how it was utilized, but that would lead to the eventual revelation that the artifacts they made of the beasts, they could impart their soul and spirit onto if they fused with them. Though not said in those terms, because Takaharu just is doing things blindly and throwing stuff at a wall to see what works. That is not something you can do with regularity and have any form of success actually happen. But since it's proven to work in this case, the others link up with their new mechs and they combine. This is the first 6-part base level combiner in Sentai history. Otherwise, it's just been 5-part combiners and a bit of superfluous fluff that no one really controls, like the crane head from Muteki Daishogun, aka the Shogun Megazord from the 3rd season of Power Rangers and Kaku Ranger. Its helmet was something that was stored in the back of the toy version of the Red Ranger's mecha. Like I said, the toy version. But this is 6-part combiner from the base level. It cannot form the combination without getting all 6 together, and it's not intermediary tiers. It's the first time the 6th Ranger has been part of a combination like this. Otherwise, it's just an add-on onto a previous combination, like with 6 mechs since a long time. And it looks better in the show than it does with the toy scans, because a lot of the issues are with sizing and, of course, the toyeticness that it doesn't have working limbs, and yet it all seems to come together more in the mecha, in the actual suits, than it does for the toy. Not surprising there. But yeah, I kind of like it. My only, I have 2 issues with it, though. One, it has no weapons, so, you know, they're fighting monsters and ninja where you need to be able to do more than punch it, and its finishing move is firing the 6th Nininnger out of its chest cavity as missiles. And when they're launched out of it, they then slash the monster they're fighting to death. Now, I know that this is not a new thing. This is actually something that goes back to the Space Sheriffs, where they would energize their laser blades on top of, yeah, this is Space Sheriff Kaban. He would energize his laser blade and slash at whatever beast or creature he was fighting that required the assistance of his Dolagon mech. But it's, you know, it's kind of contextual for that series, and in Super Sentai, it has long been established that you cannot defeat giant-scale monsters with any attack used on them from smaller scale. There's a mediating factor, like in the Gokaiger vs. Gavan movie where Gokai Red and Gavan, the original Gavan, defeats a giant-scaled monster that was the antagonist of the film, but that's assisted both by, one, it's Gavan, and two, Kanzen Gokaio was also backing them up and slashing with them, so it was like a three-stroke thing, that it wasn't just them that was doing it, so it still buys into this, and it just seems kind of out of place. I mean, if they were energized into energy projectiles, I wouldn't have a problem with this. Or maybe if it was Gekiatsu Daio's power that was supercharging them, but it just seems to be that, yeah, we're firing them out of there so you can slash them. Another issue that I hope the show takes advantage of is that after they're fired out of it, Gekiatsu Daio no longer has the Nininnger as a power source because the mechs don't have a will of their own. They're only controlled by the Nininnger, so when I think they were actually going to use this as a plot point, as after they're ejected from it for the finishing attack, Gekiatsu Daio is left in the exact same position as when it was firing them. And it is not shown moving at all past that. So, yeah, I really hope they take advantage of that for a future story. Kyoimon is not happy to be defeated by the Nininnger, who are in every respect weaker and less established than him on their ninja ability. And, well, this just shows why he's been wanting to get rid of them for God knows how long. And this kind of seems to be a thing for series past Gokaiger. I mean, it was kind of a thing with Goseiger as well, is that the actual antagonist is not the big bad of the series. No, wait, I should rephrase that. The big bad of the series is not the main enemy force. They fight for most of the show. Goseiger had Bajira, who was manipulating the three smaller factions. I shouldn't say smaller factions. The three individual factions that Goseiger fought. Bosco and Gokaiger was a more effective antagonist than the Zangiak were for most of the season, and what a lot of people became invested in due to his twisting in the search of the Ranger Keys. Like, there were kind of like two antagonist factions there. Go-Busters had Enter as a better villain than Messiah. We didn't really have this issue very much with Kyoryuger. They kind of played it straight, but I'm trying to Zet never really felt like a villain in Tokuger either. He just, like, you know, someone that wanted to embrace this thing he couldn't have and that angered him. And the rest of the Shadow Line were more of a villain than him. And here we have Kiboni Gengetsu, the big bad of the series, but he's not really much of an antagonist as much as Kyoimon is, as Kyoimon is manipulating Kiboni's entire army towards his own ends, and they're only now becoming aware of this. So it's a distilling of the effectiveness of the villains if the person that is not the big bad of the series is actually the one that's antagonizing them, fighting them constantly. And it's different because Sentai operated under the it's actually the big bad responsible for anything badder for many, many years, but it's distilling the effectiveness of your villains again, if that makes any sense to any of you. Which is kind of sad, as the villains have been more interesting than the protagonists again. I kind of hate it when that happens, because you're supposed to be invested in the villains and in the ability of the team to fight them. If one's weak, then the other looks worse off by struggling against them. So it's kind of a balancing act that, again, idiot characterization always harms with me. So, Ghost. When I originally watched this episode unsubbed, I thought it was kind of silly and a bit excessive, and maybe I figured that maybe it's just a tonal thing that I'll get used to it and I'll fit. And then I watched the subtitles, and that critique completely went away, because what I was originally commenting on was the argument between Akari Tsukimura and the head priest of the shrine the protagonist lives at, arguing over faith and rationality. It's like an argument between them. Akari, the female lead of the series, is someone that believes heavily in science. Things that can be believed in because you can rationalize them, you can quantify them, you can state them as fact as they've been shown again and again and again and again, that you get constant results in this. Whereas Onari, as a priest, is someone that has a firm belief in faith. Now, here's the thing. These two are not opposite extremes, or at least they don't need to be. Faith is commonly a belief in a higher power, or giving an answer to things that are unexplicable. Whereas science and all this stuff is looking for a reason why these inexplicable things happen. So thus it's become the extremes. You can't only believe in things that are that can be quantified, as otherwise the world becomes boring and you disregard things that have no explanation as not having happened. Whereas if you're all faith, you ignore easy explanations for why things can't happen. But why I was critical of this when I first watched the episode is I didn't have the full context to it. I am not fluent in Japanese. I really, really, really need to finish my things that would give me a better context, but I just saw them yelling and shouting at each other for seemingly petty reasons, and trust me, it is kind of a petty reason when you can confidence both belief systems easily without becoming a jackass. Looking at you, modern politics. But it was more the presentation that was screwing me over, and now I realize the context of that is this is an old argument between them that they just won't let die. Whereas the protagonist of the show is Takeru Tenkuji, and he is the son of the head priest of the shrine, and said head priest died 10 years ago in an attack by a ghost, which Takeru was the witness of. I say witness because he could not actually see ghosts. No one can actually see ghosts without special abilities or powers, which I was critiquing that in the Drive crossover, but as they're keeping it consistent, that's more manageable, especially with how they're keeping it consistent that the icons and devices like them are what allow people to see them unless they are some form of dead. I'll get to that. So it's actually a pretty good setup with establishing Takeru's personality, why he has the personality, some backstory to the guy that might have influenced his development, and his friendship with these other people, either through cohabitating with them or from childhood, and kind of how he's insular in himself and not taking things seriously because he doesn't know what to do with his life, so he stays out of things that don't interest him, which he comes to realize has kind of bit him in the back, because then he ends up having people rely on him. He had this duty that his father entrusted to him due to their I want to say legacy, but that I bet Takeru's father would have prepared him for had he not died. And I guess it's taken the choice out of his yeah, that is kind of a dick thing to do. it's kind of a dick thing for his father to do, to lay this on him as he was dying and then make him unable to really prepare in advance for it all these years, so now he's stuck with no option. That's kind of terrible, considering there's always a factor of choice involved in this. Usually. Well, choice is usually outweighed by duty, and the protagonist writers not being terrible people. So, as they're establishing the characters, thank you so much, that was a problem with Drive, these other people, actually this other man who, I think the guy's name is Iran? I'm looking at the wiki right now. No, that's someone else. He's a Major Gamma General. I don't know who I'm looking for then in this. But it's a mysterious man that summons eye-shaped objects that are the central cores of Ganma, ghost-like spirits that are malicious, and fusing with items that have a history to them, they gain an advanced form, and they are after icons, which can supposedly give them more power or something. I don't think that's not been established in the show. I'm betting we've had preview details on what the Ganma's ultimate motives are, but because Takeru's father has sent him an icon that gets him tied into this, two Ganma, one themed after a sword and one themed after a spear, due to those being the objects that they were fused with to gain their advanced forms, come and attack Takeru, Akari, and Onari at the shrine while they're having this argument. And then this is part of why I was kind of more critical on this in my initial sublist watch, because they were still arguing even though they were under attack. Even though, yeah, even if you're a rational person, you should be looking at something's breaking, something's attacking, something's freaking this guy out. Maybe there's something here and we just can't see it. That's the rationalization perspective on it. You don't have an immediate explanation. You'll get one later. Just make sure you can survive to get one. And they're not doing that. And that's where I had my problem with it being... It was continuing this silly subplot for their character establishment when you should be worried for your lives. I should say that, Takeru's the sane one in this initially, as when he realizes he's under attack, he's the target, he gets the fuck away from Akari and Onari, so they won't immediately be in danger. They follow him and see him struggling to counter the Ganma, because in his thoughts, if he can see them, he can figure out a way to fight them. Well, obviously, human against ghost, nah, not going to do well. And Akari and Onari's argument is only forgotten when the sword Ganma slices him open. The splatter of blood is hidden by a special effect, of course. But after they turn him over after seeing him dropped, yeah, you can see the undershirt of his outfit was spattered splattered red, and his overshort, which is kind of styled like a kimono. I like the look of that now that I've seen it. Bandai has started licensing cosplay costumes, but they are ridiculously expensive. But I'm considering doing something like that now. Maybe not with that character, but still. Where was I? So yeah, Takeru's dead. So much for that protagonist. Now, actually, because of his connection to the icons, a spirit of some type that calls himself Sage, comes to Takeru in his straits and tells him that he has the power to oppose the Ganma, that the inert icon that he has absorbed the power of his soul, and that he can now use it to fight the Ganma and gather 15 similar icons to that, which can allow him to be revived fully. Thing is, he doesn't tell him he only has 99 days to live before his spirit loses cohesion and his connection to the world, which is only currently being sustained by the icon. Thus, he's not alive yet, he is a ghost that can just become corporeal for short times. Whereas Danny Phantom was a ghost that stayed corporeal until he wanted to stop being it. And yeah, this show really is a bit more serious version on Danny Phantom, and I really liked Danny Phantom. It had its silly moments, but, you know, they were contextually silly. They fit with the tone of the atmosphere. I didn't think the silliness fit the tone initially, and I'm really just trying to explain away my earlier condemnation, which I'm really trying to retract that. But there's a reason I initially thought it, and it's justified. I should just leave it alone. Anyways, after getting the icon, he's also given his transformation belt to the Ghost Driver by Sage, making it a completely mystical artifact, and also giving him Yurusen, a flying eyeball ghost puppet that is voiced by the same actress that does the voice acting for Madoka Kaname. And you're not going to believe this, but I actually own the Madoka Magica soundtrack, and a lot of the incidental music in the initial debut battle of Ghost is very reminiscent of Yuki Kajiura's music for Madoka Magica. So I thought that was a very good illusion. Someone else noticed that as Ghost was transforming and gaining his Gangan saber, you know, the eye sword saber, the eye gun saber, I should say, a magic ring very similar to the one that, I should say a magic portal, because, you know, the sword appears from it, is very reminiscent in design to Kamen Rider Wizards. And this is a 15th anniversary. This is an anniversary series. It is the 17th Heisei series, but its airing is going to coincide with the 45th anniversary of Kamen Rider. So a lot of people are looking for allusions already, and I've got one to add to the stock. One of the people they encounter that actually runs up to them, and the one that delivers the icon to Takeru that results in all of this, is a guy named Onodera. Now, the reason this is important is the series was created by Shotaro Ishinomori, who was born Shotaro Onodera. A man named Onodera is responsible for the events that created a Kamen Rider. Awesome! Seriously. Yeah, we didn't get a good look at his face, though, so it's entirely... I don't know. I've never seen... I'm actually pulling up the episode now. I want to see if this is in the, Serious Man, Yurusen, Narita Shibuya, Onari. Yasushi Onodera was played by Yasuomi Sano. Damn it. Because for a second there, I thought that might have been Shotaro Ishinomori's son that might have been in this as an in-joke, since he has appeared in previous Kamen Rider stuff before. Not the case. Oh well. But yeah, Ghost has a pretty good opening battle, learning the abilities thanks to the puppet thing, Yurusen. Yeah. And, you know, showing him as pretty solid in his capabilities, even with his inexperience. Going after the second one on a motorcycle that he gets out of nowhere, which his powers allows him to transform into his rider vehicle. Okay, I usually have an issue with when things do that, but I'll let it slide because Mystic Ghost powers versus evolution. and then corners him on a beach, which there is a good enough transition in where they're fighting to get there, and then he realizes he's outmatched as this Ganma creates base Ganma, I shouldn't say creates, calls base Ganma to reinforce him, and Ghost base form isn't one that's really good with fighting multiple opponents. But the episode shows that from the beginning that Takeru has a fascination and connection to the tale of Miyamoto Musashi, who is a swordsman from the feudal years of Japan, who formed the basis for the character of Kenshin Himura from Rurouni Kenshin. See the connection I'm laying here? And he also has a fascination with other heroes from around the world because of a book his father gave him before he died that he wasn't able to appreciate as a kid, but does now. So it's like, it's tying all of this together. He needs to form this connection and synchronicity with past heroes, past heroes and legendary people of the world to get these icons, and it's expressing that right now by his connection to the legend of Miyamoto Musashi due to a piece of one of Miyamoto Musashi's swords, which calls out the Musashi icon from it, and also the Musashi Ghost Parka, which allows him to change to Musashi Damashi and gain the ability to counter all these other Ganma forces, gaining his first of 15 needed to recover icons. Something this show establishes, though, is that there are not 15 specific souls that can be turned into icons. So it's just 15 that Takeru can synchronize with. So the toy line can have a lot more than the 15 Ghost needs. It's just that Ghost is going to need 15 to resurrect himself from the dead. This unfortunately means that the show is going to suffer from form overload, because he's going to have 15 forms. No, 16 forms, because Ore Damashi does not count towards the 15 he needs to gather. Now, the problem with this is he's going to obtain 16 forms in 32 episodes. So that's like at least one every arc episode. And he's already gotten one down, and he's going to get another down next episode. That is probably going to form the base set, but that is way too many. I mean, maybe we already know that Kamen Spectre, the secondary writer of the show, is going to have his own collection of forms that may or may not add up to the 15 that Ghost needs. But yeah, it was troublesome to manage with Kuga. It was troublesome to manage with Wizard. Gaim got away with it, mainly because so many of the forms were assigned to other riders. Drive mediated its intermediary super final form by making it the super form of its secondary rider. It's just double. Okay, that with the system switching, they actually managed to do decent with it. So I'm not saying it can be done, I'm just saying, wow, that is going to be a lot. Now, to its advantage, Ghost's suit is pretty much just an undersuit with the coat and a different mask each time. So it's not like they're making dozens of new suits, with, backups and all that. They have a base suit, they have a new helmet for an individual form, and they have the individual form's jacket, which is certainly cost-saving, like all of Oza's forms, where they were made out of individual pieces that were swappable and interchangeable. But I'm just thinking a lot of people are going to have an issue with it like they had an issue with Drive's tires, because the tires weren't used very well. So yeah, Takeru defeats the Sword Gamma that killed him, avenging his own death, and returns in ghost form to Akari and Inari to explain to him all this ghost stuff, but he just keeps disappearing on them and phasing through them, and they can't figure out what the hell is going on. Even though Nari is baffled by this, but Akari just thinks that there's a perfectly logical explanation for this. The logical explanation, of course, being ghosts exist, and Takaru is now your test subject for showing how they can exist and how normal people can find out and connect with spirits and all that. Yeah. I'm betting I'm going to have a tumultuous relationship with Akari, considering my own rational viewpoints. Overall, though, Ghost is a really, really good, really solid first episode, and I hope they can keep this consistent through the series, because, damn, did my opinion on that, I wouldn't say turn around, because I thought it was a good episode even without the subs. Like I said, I'm mediating the silliness issue now that I have context. Garo Goldstorm also had its movie released this week by Overtime, as in subbed, but I didn't want to waste the time to talk about it right now because I went far longer on this already than I should have, and I have files to finish writing and editing. So, yeah, that's going to be it for this week. I might get to Garo Goldstorm next week, I don't know yet. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So I will see you in the next vlog.